Hey there, I'm going to show a video about my 98 Honda Recon that I actually bought brand new. And it has relatively been trouble-free. I've had zero issues with this other than a few minor things that I'm going to deal with today, actually. Um, Over the years, when I was younger, I rode this thing pretty hard, but I did take care of it. So it has no oil leaks in on the engine. It's ran flawless. It's had a few fuel issues from it's been I think it's set for like 4 years when I was in the Air Force, and the fuel was turned on, and it probably had ethanol fuel in it. So it developed a fuel leak out of the bowl when it was sitting. It would just leak fuel out. And then I noticed that when I turned the gas off, this has been going on a while. I turned the gas off, it still would leak out. So the on-off switch for the fuel petcock is not working. Something going on there. And I rebuilt the carburetor a couple of years ago, and it stopped the fuel leak. Decided, hey, it probably needs a carb rebuild. So I rebuilt the carburetor. A few months later, the fuel leak came back. So I'm going to show the video of taking off the fuel tank, replacing that fuel petcock switch, and actually taking the carburetor off and just cleaning the carburetor out, double checking there's no grit or any debris inside the carburetor. Maybe something that wasn't thoroughly clean last time when I did it, causing that needle valve not to seat and stop the overflow of the bowl in the carburetor. So I'm highly impressed with what Honda makes for four-wheelers. I knew I wanted a brand new Honda when I had the money when I was younger because of what I saw other Hondas going through with abuse. And my neighbor had one and just trashed it, never changed the oil. Plastic was gone off of it, and it just kept running. So I wanted a Honda, and it has stayed true to what I thought. It's exactly what I thought it would be. My kids ride this thing now on our property, and I don't really have to think about it. It always cranks up. It always runs. But here lately, I'd say the last couple of months, the kids are riding it or I'm riding it, and it would just shut off when you would stop, and then you go to recrank it, and nothing would happen. Funny enough, if you turn the fuel on-off switch a few times to reserve and on, you get it to fire up again, and then it might happen again. So I'm going to fix that issue. I think a lot of my issues come from the fuel on-off switch right there. That's below the gas tank. That has to come out. And I just got a cheap one off of Amazon. I thought it would do the job for now. So if that ends up being junk, I'll just get an OEM one, but hopefully that'll resolve it. And pull that carburetor off, double check that little rubber needle is seating back from the overflow bowl. But other than that, I've replaced one light bulb on this thing and in the front, and it's incredible. It's sporty, you can jump it, and it's relatively quick. Top speed's around 45 or so, so nothing too crazy for the kids to ride. Found some interesting things in this gas tank when I took it off. One thing, when I took off the fuel petcock here, the gas tank was easy to get off actually. Pop this plastic off the top, plastic off the side, and there's two 10mm bolts up here and some straps that strap on the gas tank. Just undo all that. And I took a little Harbor Freight pump and pumped any gas that was in it out. Got the gas tank out, and looking inside, after I pulled this out, I found what looked like a straw in a WD-40 can, and I thought that's what it was maybe. I think for a while this has been messed up, so I think the straw came out of this somehow. I'm not familiar with really how this thing even works, but I found out online that was a straw that came out of here, a tube. So when I turned the gas off, I noticed that the reserve, nothing worked. You turn this thing around and nothing happened. And lately when I've been driving it, it's been kind of bogging and trying to quit, hard to crank. So I found a lot of crap flew out of this tank when I dumped it out. I'm still cleaning it out with some throttle body cleaner. I'm gonna spray in there and dry it out and then maybe blow it out. But there was a lot of trash in there, and I think maybe that's worked its way in down to the carburetor again that I'm gonna pull off. But there was also a leaf in here too, so the leaf might have been clogging something, but I'm thinking between that something wrong with this on-off thing here and the issue with the carburetor and the trash that was in there, there's probably been a lot more sediment into the carburetor, so that's what I'm gonna work on. So like I said, now sometimes this thing runs great. I took it out for an hour the other day to a riding area, and then it just would not run anymore. It just stopped running. So either the leaf was blocking something or everything combined. Just I think everything cleaned out. The new thing I'm putting on here to replace it, I got kind of a cheaper one, but I'm just going to put one on, and you know, I think it was like $12, but if it doesn't work well, then I'll just get the OEM one. But an on-off switch should work fine for a while, I would think. I'm going to keep non-ethanol in here. But in other times, short rides like around here with the kids on it or me, it runs fine. So I think between getting that leaf out of there and that tube out of the gas tank and all the contamination, taking the car back apart, making sure there's no dirt and crap in there, and checking the needle valve seating and putting it all back together, I think this thing should be flawless. I know if I put this thing on, it might solve a lot of the running issues, but I'm sure there's something going on with the carburetor if the gas tank was that dirty. A lot of times a needle valve's got a rubber tip on it, and if it's deformed, it won't seat correctly, but it's been replaced like not even 2 years ago. So, and I haven't had gas sitting in it. It's always been kind of running. It's always ran, just not perfect. So I guess I'll just show the carburetor removal process. As I'm going to pull this back out with the seat off. You can see the air box here. We're going to have to take out these clips. One of them's broken. There's another one here. Take out the clips and undo this clamp and move this air box back so we can undo it from the other side. Also, as I'm looking in here, I'm seeing another issue from the carburetor not working just right and allowing gas, fumes, or whatever. My air filter is just disintegrating. So it looked good when I looked at it. I mean, it looks kind of dirty, but you can see it's just falling apart. I did something pretty dumb one time. I got tired of it leaking everywhere on the floor, so I just took the drain hose and tilted it up. Well, the gas kept coming through, and it worked its way through into the air box and filled it up. So, and you know, beyond the, I know the on-off switch doesn't work because when I put it on off, it'll run all day with it off. If it's on reserve, I'm sorry, in the on position, it'll run on the on position with the gas almost about to run out. So I know it's not working right, so that's one issue we can solve. But getting into this carburetor and just, I'm pretty sure there's probably some, maybe some ethanol residue still in there. I didn't get all the way out, but something's going on inside of there. A lot of it having to do with the needle valve sealing, I think, but we'll get it out and take a look at it. So here's where the main line plugged in from the gas tank when I pulled the gas tank out. All right, so I guess I'll start here by taking out the air filter, getting this out. I don't want it anymore. It's gonna be taking this bolt bracket, this bolt off, and this clamp off here with a screwdriver. So after this is out, I'm gonna take out this one clip that I still have, take it out, and then disconnect the air box from here with another Phillips head screwdriver and just slide this back. And then any hoses I need to disconnect, I think all these vacuum hoses are connected to the carburetor itself. I'll take this out next on the carburetor, show you how that the slide, how that comes out. And there is, hard to see down there, but there's two 10mm bolts holding the carburetor on. That should pop right out. So there's also a air breather tube routed to the air box. That's the same Phillips head screwdriver on that clamp. And there's that better view of those 10mm bolts that are on the carburetor. Well, I had a good view there. Yeah, 10mm bolts right there. There's one right there in the back, and there's another one on this side over here. So I'm in the process of moving this air box back now. So once that's disconnected down there, I've got the clamp off the carburetor right there. This is gonna have to be pulled. It's kind of, you can't go through that way. It's gonna have to come back. So we're gonna have to maybe get a pair of pliers and just pull on this and get this off the carburetor so we can start getting this out. But we got to pull this rubber piece back. That's kind of loose now. I'm gonna try to get a pair of pliers on it. I'll let you know how that comes out. All right, so I just took a pair of pliers. You can see the mark on it. I just pulled that off the carburetor. Once I got that really loose. So now I've got everything off the air box. I should be able to pull this thing out and get it out of the way. I'm gonna use two hands. I'm just gonna pull this straight out. It's gonna come out, and then we'll get to the carburetor next. So already peeking in to this carburetor,
It's not looking so good on the ends there. I mean, it looks kind of dirty to me. I'm eager to get this thing all the way out. The next thing I want to pull off is this slide. This is going to unscrew. We're going to unscrew this. Probably get a pair of pliers on there. There's also a choke cable. That's not a big deal. There's a Phillips head screw. You're going to undo the clamp for the cable, and then you're going to route it out of there. Once I get this off, I'm going to take the 10mm bolts out, pull the carburetor back, and then we'll have room to move this around, and we'll get this cable out and go ahead and pull the slide out the top there, and then we'll have this carburetor ready to go on the table. All right, I got the one off of that side. This one's hard to get to, so I'm gonna go ahead and take the choke cable out, which is this Phillips head. I'm gonna undo this cable from the bracket and get it out of the way, and then I'm gonna take this screw out, and there's a pin where it clips back in, and once I pull this off, I can route that. If I pull that over to here, this cable, once it's loose, it'll slide out, this choke cable, it'll slide out right there, put that wire right through there, the cable. And then once that's out of the way, I think I can get to that bolt better. Don't do what I did here. Don't fool with taking this screw out that came out of here and disconnected the choke from the carburetor. No need to do that. Just undo this screw up here to take the cable out and unroute it from in there. Now there's a spring behind that metal piece there. Now I got to put all this back on. It's kind of tricky. I remember doing this last time. All you got to do is take out this bracket, loosen it, and then pull your cable out and undo it from the choke, and leave the choke on the carburetor. Don't take it off right here. This is a pain in the neck. All right, I got the choke working again. Open, close. So that was a big giant pain in the ass to pull off this choke. There's a spring behind it. It's got to be put in there just right, and I'm not very good at doing things like that unless I really know what I'm getting into. So I wouldn't recommend taking out that bottom screw. Just take out this bracket, move this cable around and unhook it, and leave all this connected to the carb. That I remember last time this took me like 20 minutes to get it back in there. Again, I'm not a mechanic, but if you're better than me, you can take it off, but I don't like dealing with that, so I'd take off the top bracket so you can maneuver your choke cable around and undo the choke cable from in there. You'll see where it just slides out of there, and then we'll go from there. Then I'll get out that other nut. I just took a pair. Everything's disconnected with that bolt out. The only thing I see left is the top of this. I just undid this with some pliers. This slide should come out. I don't have two hands here, so I'm going to unscrew this and then show you what that looks like when it comes out. There was one more little hose to unplug on the side, a vacuum hose that was down here. Whoops. And some gas going everywhere there. Still some gas in the bowl. And I just undid the slide. There's a slide. You can leave that on if you don't need to replace your needle. I'm not going to. That's been replaced last time with the carb rebuild, so I'm leaving that just like it is. All right, if you're dumping some gas everywhere and spending 20 minutes on putting that choke back on, that thing always gives me problems. It's like a really weird system. But anyway, so anything you're gonna do in a carburetor, just flip it over. The bowls here, this is where my issues lie, I believe. I'm sure, hopefully, I don't know. I'm hoping it's dirty because of some of the issues I'm having. But there's 3 screws. I'm gonna pop those out and then look inside of this and then go from there. All right, so the inside of this thing looks pretty good, pretty clean to me, just from a visual inspection of everything. But even down in here, I don't see too much. I did a pretty good job cleaning it out last time. There's a little bit in there, but nothing much. Which leads me to believe that maybe there was trash in the fuel on-off switch. The filter's on the on-off switch petcock thing on the gas tank, so maybe that was just clogged from all that trash in the gas tank. But I am going to see if I can see. This thing's like a plunger on a toilet, so it lifts up, and underneath, I'm going to slide this pin out right there. I'm going to slide that out. This is going to come up, and there's a little thing with a point on a rubber point. When this float goes all the way up, it's going to close off the fuel inlet. So that's supposed to be closing, and I don't think it's closing. So when I slide this pin out, that's right there, this stuff's going to pop off. And underneath it is that little thing with the rubber on it, and it's going to close. It's pointed, so it goes in that hole and expands and closes it up. So maybe something's wrong with that. Maybe the hole has some grit in it. We'll see. So if you slide that pin out, that's the thing that's supposed to, when it lifts up, close down and go in that hole. That looks in pretty good shape to me, like when I put it in. Doesn't look like there's anything malfunctioning with it. It looks pretty good. The hole it goes into maybe that's the hole it goes into, so maybe that needs to be cleaned out, and maybe take like that drill bit and the Q-tip and make sure that it's sitting correctly in there, make sure it's cleaned out. Those two things there are your jets, your main and your idle jet. I'm going to take a screwdriver and undo those and spray some carb cleaner through it while I have it out. I don't suspect those will be clogged or anything because everything looks so clean in here, but we'll see. But that's what we're dealing with right now. This area here is my main focus with the fuel leak. That fuel leak, that's where fuel goes in and fills the bowl. And if it's not cutting off, it's still going to keep leaking out. So it's causing problems and smelling bad, making the garage stink. My wife doesn't like it. I don't like it. So, All right, I've got the carburetor thoroughly cleaned out with the carburetor cleaner, jets, and inside the bowl there. So now I'm going to take this drill. I don't have any compound, but I'm just going to try to polish out that around where the needle seats and get any grime or grit that may be out of there. I don't want anything too harsh. I don't have any compound. I didn't get any of that, but I'm just going to do this, and if it doesn't work, it's so easy to pull off. I'll try it again later, but at least I'll have the on-off switch to turn the gas off and not have that leak when I'm not riding it. So and it does look better. I mean, even after cleaning that out, I mean, actually there may have been some grime in there. It just didn't look totally like that when I was pulling that thing out. So we'll try that. I'm going to piece this thing back together, the carburetor and everything, and see what we got. And I've got the new on-off switch. I ordered the Amazon special I got off. And looking at this thing, I had to piece this white thing on there. I didn't see anything look like a straw for a can of carburetor cleaner. So I don't know where that straw even came from, if it came from that or not. I have no idea. But this has a filter on it. This is your fuel filter, and it looks better than this one. This one may have been clogged a little bit. I don't know. It just looks discolored, but I'm going to place... This just bolts on the bottom of the gas tank. So that's going to go on the bottom of the gas tank, and there's an O-ring where this sticks up into there. So it's easy. And I'll go down into that... that's where I had to pull the gas tank off, because this fits down into here when it's on there. So you can't really pull this plastic thing off from the bottom. So that's why the gas tank had to come out, and it's easier out of the way when you're pulling the carburetor off. So I'm gonna stick all this back on, and we'll see how it goes. Didn't get a new air filter yet. I just pulled the foam that was coming off of the air filter, and this foam is good on the inside. I'm not gonna ride it long like that, but I'm just gonna use that to piece it, put it back in there, and when I piece it back together to see if it'll run right and not leak gas. See what this on-off switch does when I put it on. I think that'll improve the fuel delivery to the carburetor at least. So we'll see. I'm gonna piece everything back together in the reverse order I took everything off. I will show the gas tank installation because I didn't show any of that on here, but I'm gonna see how it goes. All right, I got the car put back on. Just gotta tighten the 10mm nuts on that. That went back on pretty good. The slide, again, I think I told you wrong in the beginning. The slide, when you put it in the top here, the long line on the side of the slide goes with the higher rivet, and the shorter break in the slide goes on that bottom rivet in the bottom. So make sure you slide that in right or it won't work correctly. I'm gonna put on this new on-off switch here with the really good looking filter, which could have been most of my problem with the running. I'm gonna put that in. That just pops in like this. That goes inside of the tank, and your bolts go on right there. So that'll look nice and shiny and new with our new bolts that came with it. But just gotta pop those on, 10mm, tighten that up. Make sure you put it on the correct way. I'll have this facing out. If it can be put on backwards, I will the first time, but just double check. That's not a big deal. You will figure that out once you put it on, but don't want to show you it backwards the first time. All right, I put the old fuel line on there. That's the original fuel line. It looked pretty good, surprisingly. So that's on there. This will set down in there, and this end will go on the inlet for the carburetor. Only open hole left, so that's going to go in and come out that hole for the needle plunger. So that should be all clear. The tank looks great, clean inside. And I'm ready to set this tank in. This tank's going to set in, it's going to sit right here. The two 10mm bolts are going to go through these, plug in here, and there's two tank straps. They're going to connect here. They're rubber straps that will secure here. One will connect here and connect down here, so no big deal there. Once I get that on, I'll throw the air box in. We should be getting close to turning this thing on and letting it run. So once that's down there, that'll stick out there, but this fuel line needs to go up underneath this metal rail. There's like a slot for it to run down and plug in here. So I'm gonna lift it back up. It's kind of tricky getting in between these two plastic pieces if you don't take them off. So just kind of turn it sideways and tilt it in there. Just be careful not to break anything. That'll pop in there like that. A test drive, and I did tweak the idle adjustment screw. I feel like it was idling a little low and it was backfiring on deceleration. So after adjusting that, that's on the bottom of the carburetor. There's a little a flat tip on the bottom hanging down of the carburetor. And now it's running. I don't hear any backfiring, and it's idling great. I got it on reserve. I threw a little gas in there. So when I turn the gas, or I'll leave the gas on and see if it leaks out of the carburetor. But I think hopefully it's looking promising that we've maybe fixed an issue. So there's no, it just seems to idle better now. It's running good. The idle adjustment screw is the only gold screw hanging down at the bottom. You can look behind the cylinder there, you'll see a little tiny screw hanging down. So I turn that counterclockwise. You seem to idle it up a little bit and not backfire when it's idling down. Oh yeah, we're in business now. Well, it looks like we fixed the issue, the minor fuel issue with the 98 Honda Recon. The fuel on-off switch works beautifully, and when the fuel's turned on, it doesn't leak out of the bowl. But if it starts to happen again, I'll get back in there and really seriously use some compound or maybe end up just getting a new carburetor for it. But for now, it works. It won't stink up the garage. I won't hear any complaints about the garage smelling like gas, and I won't be smelling fuel when I park it outside or anything like that when I'm riding it. But I am going to keep the fuel turned off while I'm not riding it for an extended period of time. So I hope you found this video helpful, and I'm going to move on to something else, see if I can fix or break something else. Y'all have a good one.